From the time every baseball player first swings a cheap plastic bat, there's one scenario every kid dreams of living out. Bottom of the ninth inning, World Series on the line, you're up. There's already a huge thrill in hitting a home run, regardless of what level it's at. So imagine connecting perfectly for a home run that wins the World Series. Your swing, winning a championship for the team. It's the dream scenario. But it's a dream for a reason, because it's so high at the top of the pyramid for baseball that it's so rare to even have the opportunity to go for it. So what if I told you 2 players in MLB history have actually done it? A walk-off home run to win the World Series. In the history of baseball, just 2. The players fortunate enough to come through in the greatest circumstances every young boy and girl dreams of in their backyard. You don't even need to talk about something like win probability added when, like, it's as cool as hitting a walk-off home run to win the World Series. So, how'd they do it? These are the stories of the 2 greatest home runs ever hit in Major League Baseball. Joe Carter was a star at baseball for as far back as his career goes. He was picked 2nd overall in the MLB draft out of Wichita State University in 1981, and cracked the big leagues just 2 years later. His first team traded him away not long after, and he quickly returned the favor of being given up on by becoming a true offensive weapon. A lot of home runs, a lot of doubles, a lot of stolen bases. Not a lot of recognition, though. Stashed away on a bad small market team, people weren't noticing his consistency to the extent they should have. I mean, he was never an all-star until the 9th season of his career, when he was on his 4th different team. Oh yeah, he got traded 2 more times before finally blossoming in front of the public eye, now doing so as a Toronto Blue Jay. Joe Carter and the Blue Jays were a match made in heaven. Year 1 with them, he finished 5th in MVP voting in the American League, and finally started racking up tangible rewards for his performance. He was basically having the entire time. And he clinched the Jays a playoff spot with a walk-off single during that first year.
Winning run on 3rd. Base hit! Blue Jays win the East! Let the celebration begin!
Aw, that's cute. He probably thinks this is going to be the biggest walk-off hit of his life. The Jays got bounced in the playoffs that first year, but the second year, 1992, they were back with a vengeance. Carter hit 3 home runs during the Jays' postseason run in 1992. One in the first inning of the game in which Toronto advanced to their first ever World Series, setting the tone for what wound up being a 9-2 blowout win in that game. He hit another one in Game 1 of the World Series in Atlanta off of future Hall of Famer Tom Glavine to give Toronto their first run of the series, and one to give the Jays a 1-0 lead in Game 3, which wound up being a game they'd win by that one run. Carter went 2 for 5 in Game 6 of the series, flying out in the top of the 11th with 2 men on base, missing his chance to become the hero. Dave Winfield doubled those 2 men in 1 batter later, and not long after, Joe caught the final out of the 1992 World Series, giving Toronto their very first World Series championship. Also, no, your eyes did not deceive you. The last out of a World Series was a guy bunting. The celebration was on in Toronto, though. But the ultimate goal of a champion soon shifts to doing it all over again. Carter and the Blue Jays' focus quickly returned to winning a second World Series, becoming a rare back-to-back champion. They steamrolled again through the regular season, Carter again having a solid individual year now in his age 33 season. He didn't hit as many home runs, or just hit as well in general in the postseason for 1993, but his teammates picked up the slack. The Blue Jays earned another trip to the World Series, and in that series, Joe Carter played okay, really only having 1 great game in Game 4. He fell into an 0 for 7 slump during Game 5 and most of Game 6, due up 4th in the inning, down by 1. If someone got on base, Joe was gonna need to be a hero to keep the season alive, if not reclaim their title altogether, which was, the real goal. Rickey Henderson worked a walk, Devon White flied out, and Paul Molitor singled to start the bottom of the 9th. Joe Carter, one of the game's more underrated players for much of his career, was walking up to the plate for the biggest and most viewed at-bat of his life. The stakes are as high as they've ever been in his career. He takes a fastball off the plate in the first pitch of the at-bat, then again for the second, before letting a fastball go right down the middle for strike one. I mean, that had to be the pitch right there, right? A 2-0 fastball right down the pipe to do damage on? He's gotta regret not hitting that one. Especially when he whiffs through a breaking ball for strike two on the next pitch. It's now or never to stay alive and come through as a hero for the world to see. Oh, who am I kidding? You already know what he does. Joe Carter did it. A walk-off home run to win a World Series. As you could imagine, this would wind up being the biggest moment of his career. Shocker, I know. 396 big league home runs, none even close to this memorable. Carter finally became a baseball legend.
Joe Carter with a 3-run homer. The winners and still world champions, the Toronto Blue Jays.
The casual fan finally knowing his name after his already very good career, which he'd finish 5 years later as a 5-time All-Star. He's now a member of the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame, the Blue Jays level of excellence, and was voted a top 4 Blue Jay of all time by fans in 2015. Likely off the back of this swing. Drake doesn't give you the single cover for his Meek Mill diss track for nothing, and for a while, this swing was all Toronto had. They didn't make the playoffs for another 22 years. Any Blue Jays fan born after October 23rd, 1993 lived their whole lives hearing about this moment as the defining story of the franchise, while the Jays were just never able to rekindle anything close to that level of success again. In between Jays playoff appearances, you could be 21 years old and have this one home run from before you were born just stuffed down your throat as the only great thing in team history, other than the other World Series that Joe Carter was involved in the end of. Joe Carter fast-tracked his way to the top of a team's history books. I was born in 1999, so this also predates me. Lucky for me, though, I have another creator friend by the name of Ballcap Sports who, as a Blue Jays fan, watched this while it happened. So I picked up some extra perspective on what it was like to actually watch someone hit the biggest home run you could ask for.
My name's Mike. You might know me from Raving Sports. And today, I don't know what we're actually talking about. I honestly forgot. So, yeah, that's what I'll leave you with. Actually, all right, Tyler, here you go.
Put a shirt on, my God.
Oh.
So I have a very important question to ask you. What year were you born?
I was born in 1980.
I thought there was something coming after that.
There is. One.
Okay, perfect. So, I now am under the impression that being a Blue Jays fan born in 1958, that I'm going to ask you at the best moment of your life. Please tell me about Joe Carter's home run.
The best sports moment I've had, I was 11. It's hard to come, like as a baseball fan, having gone through that moment, it's difficult because you're never going to top that moment. A walk-off clinching home run. But I can remember, I got to thank my mom because, again, I was like 11, and she let me stay up to watch the game. And I was sitting there, I was watching the game, I was watching Mitch Williams implode, I was sitting there by myself doing "We Will Rock You." Literally sitting there with my hands doing the clapping thing, doing the "We Will Rock You" chant. Joe Carter hits the home run while I'm doing that thing. So now that song forever lives in infamy in my mind. And I'm jumping up. I'm basically doing the Joe Carter home run trot in the living room. It's the apex. I don't know. I hope a baseball moment can at some point reach that level again.
Joe Carter did the unbelievable, a walk-off home run to win the World Series. But what if I told you someone else did it with the stakes even higher? I've intentionally not disclosed that Joe Carter was the second person to hit a walk-off home run to win a World Series. The World Series is a best-of-7 series. Carter hit his in Game 6. If the Blue Jays wound up losing the game, they had a whole nother game of cushion to spare. Someone else, in 1960, did it in Game 7. Someone else hit the Joe Carter home run on an even bigger stage. I would say the lights were brighter, but it was played during a day game in 1960. We didn't really do night games in the World Series yet. I don't know what to tell you. Just bear with me and hear the story, please. Bill Mazeroski just turned 24 years old when the 1960 World Series started, which, considering that's how old I am right now, really throws me for a loop. Mazeroski was in his 5th season in MLB as the Pittsburgh Pirates second baseman. While he was a below-average hitter, he had above-average power for his position and was regarded as possibly the best defensive infielder in baseball. Modern analytics back that he was a much better defensive player than offensive player, one of the best defenders to ever live by the metrics we have available today. But during the 1960 World Series, he was an 8th hitting second baseman, not someone expected to carry the freight offensively at all. He did, however, show up to swing it in Game 1 of the series, going yard in his second at-bat of the game for his first homer of the series. The Pirates' offensive output was generally pretty limited in the series, though. The 6 runs they scored in Game 1 were the most by far they'd score in the first 6 games. Either the Pirates squeaked out a close, low-scoring win or got completely obliterated by the New York Yankees. No in between. I mean, by this point, they were already the unquestioned, undisputed top dog in baseball, both in that moment and historically.
Grade school T-ball versus the New York Yankees.
Miraculously, despite being outscored 46-17 in the first 6 games, the Pirates still split the series. 3 wins each. They all counted the same. The Yankees' wins had a combined score of 38-3, which would be a complete destruction in football, so imagine that in baseball. But the Pirates had 3 wins too. They weren't as crazy, didn't matter. That meant 1 game was left to decide everything. Mazeroski is again penciled in as the number 8 hitter in the lineup. The Pirates, amazingly, jump out to a 4-0 lead.
Struggles to get out of the jam, but Burden singles to right. Mazeroski and Hoke score, and the Pirates move out to a 4-0 lead.
And so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game.
Stop. And they hold that lead for the first 4 innings before the Yankees first get on the board in Game 7. This is a lethal Yankee lineup, though. Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris in their prime type Yankee lineup. Escaping the 5th inning up 4-1, they have got to start holding off the Yankee bats here. It's only a matter of time before those bats wake up, and the Yankees took the lead. It's okay. You've got some good bats, and good pitching on this Pirates team. You've made it to Game 7 of the World Series after all, and the Yankees scored more runs. They're up 7-4 going to the bottom of the 8th. Mazeroski has not done much offensively. He had a bunt single in the 2nd inning, and that's it. He hit into a double play as the last batter at the bottom of the 7th, so he's not stepping up to the plate in the 8th unless the Pirates do some damage. Runs have to score in bunches to give Bill a chance to step into the box.
It's a far different story on this swing. There she goes, out toward the red brick wall in left center. Berra chasing, but it's gone for a home run. The Pittsburgh fans have the steel girders throbbing like tuning forks with thunderous cheers.
Dude, what are you saying?
The Bucks have come back into the lead 9-7.
Wait. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? The Pirates are up 9-7. Bill doesn't get to bat, but who cares? They just put up 5 runs in the bottom of the 8th. Hold them for 3 more outs, and you are the world champions. 1 out away.
And there's a shot grab by Nelson, steps on first, and Mantle gets back to first, he's safe, and McDougal scores.
Meanwhile, the run scores, and the game is all tied 9-9.
Dear God, Pirates, this is something else. The Yankees just keep busting the doors open as soon as you get any kind of lead at all. Mere inches away from tagging Mantle out back at first and getting the 3rd out to win it. But it was not to be. They had Mickey Mantle and Yogi Berra drive in the 2 runs to tie the game in the 9th. Inner circle legends of baseball. Once the Pirates get out of their half of the inning with the game tied, who do they have leading off in the bottom of the 9th? Bill Mazeroski, who doesn't even remember it's his turn to bat. He scrambles to pick up a bat and hurries to the plate, obviously sped up significantly and probably really thrown off by the Yankees storming back from the dead to steal the Pirates' moment from them. There's probably a lot of anxiety surging through Bill, or maybe none at all. He's got no time to think about the situation he's in, or how lucky the Pirates are to have not been bullied into submission yet. All he can do is lock in on his at-bat right now.
Here's a swing and a high fly ball going deep left. That's how you do it. Back to the ball goes down. It is home run. The Pirates win.
The dream home run. World Series, Game 7, bottom of the 9th, walk-off. A defense-first, 8th hitting second baseman who wasn't even ready to step into the box hit the ultimate home run in MLB history. This is why I love baseball. To this day, his celebration is forever immortalized in Pittsburgh. Mazeroski was not a great hitter. His on-base percentage was below 30%. He was about 16% below average offensively for his career. But he had the greatest swing anyone could ever imagine for themselves, and he couldn't believe it. Mazeroski did not think he was going to do this. We know this to be true because he told the world himself this after the game. But as soon as he connected, the feeling of everyone in Pittsburgh was, to quote Pirates third baseman Don Hope, "Get out of here, you rotten, stinking, beautiful baseball." Spoken like a true, 1960s talking guy. The whole time he was rounding the bases, he was overcome with joy. I mean, of course he was. You'd be freaking out too. The Yankees were not so thrilled. In fact, they were about as crushed can be. Roger Maris gave this remarkable quote after they convened back in the visiting locker room, devastated by what one of the unlikeliest heroes in baseball history did to them. Surely the powers that be had to name Mazeroski the MVP of the series just off that swing, right? I mean, he did by far the most valuable thing a player had ever done in a World Series to that point, huh? Nope. They gave it to the second baseman on the Yankees. The only player to ever win a World Series MVP award from the losing team. And it was during the series where a guy hit a walk-off home run to win it in Game 7. Are you kidding me? Everyone remembered this home run. They'd be insane not to. Even turning this below-average hitter into a Hall of Famer off of it. Likely transforming this one swing into enough of an offensive memory to compensate for a 17-year career with 17 below-average seasons. They honored him for his incredible defense and undeniable place in baseball history, and that meant the world to him.
I thought when the Pirates retired my number, that would be the greatest thing that ever happened to me.
Two questions have to be asked about this home run. Number one is, why is this clip not everywhere and anywhere in the baseball world? The answer to that is the footage of this game was lost for nearly 50 years. Seriously, they found the only existing remainder of the original broadcast of the greatest home run ever hit half a century after it happened. The second is, where is that ball that he hit? That's gotta be the greatest collectible ever, right? Well, a 14-year-old kid found it first. He was just walking down the street in Pittsburgh and found it. Realizing what he had found, you know, the ball of the greatest home run ever hit, he decided to try and give it to Bill Mazeroski. About the most unselfish thing a 14-year-old kid could do in that moment. You know, considering the bar for how kids feel about this home run is what Lil C thought.
Bill Mazeroski, I hate him. He made Mickey Mantle cry.
And yet, Mazeroski did something even more unselfish. He met the kid, signed the ball of his unprecedented home run, and let this 14-year-old boy he had never met in his life just keep it. And you want to know the only thing more unbelievable than that? The kid lost it. He lost it. playing street baseball with it in a neighborhood pickup game. The real signed baseball of the only ever Game 7 walk-off home run in a World Series was being used by ordinary kids in a pickup baseball game, and they lost it. No, I take it back what I said earlier. That's baseball. But that's just kind of how the world works sometimes, right? Joe Carter and Bill Mazeroski will always have their names in the baseball lore off these achievements. To the day they die, they'll still get asked about it. I've never met either of them, but I'd imagine they still smile at the mere thought of their special moments in the box, no matter what happened before or since in their lives.
I thank God. I mean, this is a storybook ending. I told my wife before I went to the ballpark, I said something special is going to happen today.
Fun fact that merges these two home runs even more. These were the last hits that both Carter and Mazeroski would ever have in a World Series. Mazeroski won another World Series, 11 years later, still with the Pirates. He never played for any other team. Carter never appeared in another postseason game again. What I am certain of is that both of these men wouldn't change a thing. They climbed to the highest point any young boy or girl playing baseball in their backyard fantasizes about. They defined the history of the World Series for the rest of time. And they gave every kid who has ever had an imagination with baseball, forever, something to strive for.